Exactly. We are just getting the right energy. Hi guys.
Hey.
Hi. How are you today?
Good.
Good. I'm talking to a really, I would say, smart young businessman, and you have really amazing facial hair. And this was how we met because I couldn't let you go without making the statement and complimenting on your beards because they are really amazing. I really like
We appreciate your bluntness there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well,
I would say.
it can be a little bit tricky to be blunt, right? But in this case, it worked out really well. We had a really nice chat about AI, so I thought we really need to make a podcast about this because we really went into depth, and I have a lot of questions about AI, and you are the expert. So first, Mohammed, please, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
I am Mohammed Naeem. I am CTO and founder of Axcelerate-AI. We are an AI company that provide AI solutions to other companies who want to automate their workflows, want to integrate AI into their solutions. So we do that. We've been doing it for the last 2 years, and we've worked.
ChatGPT.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Because since ChatGPT, everybody's doing AI.
Yeah.
And you were prior to that already.
Yeah, so prior to that, we both, our background is in research. So we research in AI, and we noticed that there's a gap in the industry between the AI research and how people are using AI in day-to-day workflows.
That's very interesting. We really need to talk about that. And also, please, can you introduce yourself?
Malik. It's hard to pronounce.
Malik is your first name.
Yeah, that's my second name, but I think it's easier to pronounce.
Okay. That is. What is your first name then?
My first name is SHARYAR.
SHARYAR.
Yeah, a lot of syllables.
So you call yourself Malik?
Yeah, I normally call myself SHARYAR, but
in this
a lot
case,
of people, if they aren't able to pronounce it, then Malik.
All right. So you are the CTO. What is your role in the company?
Yeah, I'm the CEO.
All right.
I look at the business side. So we build AI solutions, as Mohammed was saying. The only thing I would probably add on top of that is that our focus is on building custom AI models, as opposed to just using out-of-the-box solutions that AWS or Google or OpenAI would provide. Because in a lot of applications, out-of-the-box solutions will give you the best accuracy that you need. And it's better to customize your models and train it on your own data sets to get the best performance.
I agree. Can you explain why this is so important?
Yeah, it's important because the solutions that you'll find on AWS that would train, for example, on just general data that isn't necessarily specific to your use case. So it may work well, but then there would always be edge cases or some use cases that it won't work well for you. So it's important to then train it on your own data. Also, another thing is that most of these models are quite big, and it's difficult to deploy them on small devices. So if you are limited on compute capacity, then you would want them, for example, on edge devices. For that, it's better to have a custom model.
I agree. Can you guys, I'm not sure who to address it to, probably to the CTO here, but what is a vector database?
The vector database is an indexing database that allows you to introduce memory into your large language models, LLMs. So let's say...
And what's memory?
So by memory, I mean that you want to retrieve or you want to query your model. Specific to your own data set. And how do you do that? You use vector bases. It's just a fancy name to add memory into LLMs.
And the memory is, the way I understand it, understands the connection between two words. So for example, color is connected to red, yellow, blue, and connected to red, for example, is orange but also yellow. And this you can refine into more depth. You can add gradients, you can add size, and this is how you build up memory in context, right? For example, to color and shape, and then you have the combination of the both. That is what you do with memory?
Yeah, you describe it quite well. So how we build this memory is by using something called embeddings. And embeddings is, like you said, we as human beings, when we hear a word, we also know its context, because we have been trained and we have learned that word over many scenarios. So we know that when someone say apple, it's an apple that you eat, or it's an apple, the iPhone. But for the machine, they don't know the real word. They haven't seen that much of data. They haven't experienced any real world scenario. So how do you do that? You actually try to give them a concept or multiple concepts of that word. So let's say if I have an apple, then that apple word itself, machine doesn't understand it, just understand numbers. So what I would do, I would convert that word into multiple numbers such that each number correspond to a concept. So let's say if I have 5 numbers, the first number would correspond to technology, the second correspond to, let's say, color, the third correspond to the vegetable, fruits, and so on. So when I have this number and I have this word apple, number at the third place would be a large number. Let the machine know that it's actually about the fruit, or if the first number is it's actually about
So
the technology.
if you prompt in the language model, let's say green apple, then the context based on the indexation and the numbers, it will make the connection and it will give the context of the vegetable, the fruit. And if you say Apple phone, then it is related to the technology.
Exactly. And behind the scenes are actually those embeddings that from which the machine is getting the idea that, okay, this word itself belongs to which concept.
That makes sense. And how did you came up with the idea to start an AI company already 2 years back? So this was in 2021.
So both of our background is in machine learning. So we've both researched in this, published in different conferences, and we saw that there was a gap. Not many industries were actually using AI models. A lot of advancements have been made over the past few years in the academia or in the research side, but not a lot of that has been translated into actual real-world applications. So that was our motivation to help transform industries using AI.
Makes sense. And what was your background before you started here with AI?
Both of us were researchers in machine learning, so we published conference papers. So for example, I published an ICML, which is one of the top conferences in machine learning.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So you have a paper and you are the writer of that paper that you published.
Yeah, which is why we also have a theoretical understanding of AI and machine learning, and then we were able to translate that into real-world applications.
And where did you go to university?
So we both from Lahore, and we actually did our undergrad together in electrical engineering.
Oh, nice.
So we did it from University of Engineering and Technology in Lahore, and then we did our computer science. I did that from LUMS, which is another university in Lahore, and then he did it from ITU, which is also in Lahore.
All right. And where did you meet in Lahore?
We met during our undergrad degree.
Oh, okay.
We've known each other for the last 7 years, which are, I think, too many years to know.
I wouldn't say that. Actually, I'm with Nishan. He's our Chief Technical Officer. We have 2 anniversaries next month in November. Because in November I started to work with a company where he was the lead developer. And we became friends. And exactly 5 years back, on the 18th of November 2018, to be business partner. And we go along for 10 years and we will keep going for sure. Good. So already 7 years, it's a long time. How is the roles between you? Is it very clear?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that much clear, but I think there needs to be more boundaries set. But as with any company, and as we both have similar backgrounds, so the lines are blurry there.
All right, but you are really a good team together. So you have established your own company in the AI field. You only dedicated yourself to AI?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that when we started, we decided that we are only going to focus on deep learning. So in AI, it's quite wide, but deep learning is really the new technology which is enabling people to build these cool models like ChatGPT that's built on deep learning.
Deep learning concepts, right?
Yeah. So we are limited to only deep learning.
All right, so you have machine learning, which is the previous stage probably of AI, and you have deep learning. Can you explain a little bit the difference between the two?
Yeah, so I would say it's only difference of scale. In machine learning, you can build neural networks, but previously those networks weren't that big. And people were trying to, without scaling the model up, people were trying to teach the model to learn new things. So there were concepts like logic programming, things similar to that. But after, I would say 2012, there was a very influential paper which really helped deep learning community launch their research into the real world. So the paper was AlexNet, and what it did, it introduced the first truly deep neural network which learned to classify different objects. And the accuracy a year before that and that year was
completely different.
Completely really different. And
paradigm
that really
shift that really changed and brought it to a complete new level.
And that really caught the eye of the community that okay, this is the new stuff.
Yeah.
And after that, it's just with each year the scale, and the only difference I would say was of the scale of the network. And with each new year, the scale is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh yeah.
So you can see that in GPT, that's the more ubiquitous.
So back to the year 2012, which was the game changer because that paper was then published. We were talking about the concept of indexing with metrics and the numbers. Was that the insight that gave the community complete new boost?
Yeah. The technology that the models that we use to embed word to create indexing, that's the same technology. But the idea that was to only show that with large neural network, you can learn any concept, and it's really the generalization of the deep neural networks that we are finding them in every application, be it in medical industry, be it in audio analysis and image analysis, so all kind of stuff. Because that network, it's not as general as a human mind, but if you train it in the right way, it can learn concepts from pattern recognition to forecasting to anomaly detection, all that kind of stuff. And the only reason I would say is of the scale at which these networks are built. So, in our brain, we have around, I think, 1 trillion neurons, and each neuron has 3 to 5 different connections. So that roughly translates.
That's a colossal, colossal number,
Yeah,
right?
that's
really
very
beyond
large
belief.
number. But with the new networks, let's say GPT-4, they are already training it at 100 trillion parameters, which is quite large number.
Yeah.
And you need very large clusters to train these networks, and that's the only bottleneck in the deep learning right now.
Yeah.
The scale. I was reading that only to train this network, you need to spend electricity worth of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And that's just the electricity that you are consuming.
I was reading an article that there will be a backlash for this industry because of the immense power that is needed to operate AI models, render outcomes, to train it.
Yeah, there's some discussion in the industry, also the deep learning community, that maybe the direction we're heading in, which is just building bigger and bigger models, that's not the right direction, and we maybe need to shift to some other way of learning. But right now it's just this, that each year you'll see models that are bigger than the models from previous year, and then you would also see that the performance would be better. So let's see, how far this.
So Malik, you say if you go with more dedicated and focused niche models, you can get better results with less CPU usage and energy also.
Yeah, you can. But the concept behind these big models is that these are foundational models, meaning that you have this model that has general capabilities. So, for example, a language model has a general understanding of the text, or it can have a general understanding of the text, and it's not built for any specific use case. You then adapt these to other downstream tasks and use them. So, for example, you can use GPT for analyzing documents. If you have a long document, you could extract text using an OCR, feed that to GPT using vector databases that we were discussing, and have it draw insights. So now GPT wasn't actually built for that. So it's just a model that has a general capability, and then you adapt it for other tasks.
So let's talk a bit about your business, Malik. You started 2 years back. What are clients and projects you are working on with your business?
One major area we've been working on, real estate industry. It's building solutions for different real estate. So it's called PropTech, property technology related to. And so, for example, one solution that we've built is that we use computer vision to automatically stage a room. So if you have an image of an empty room, if you were to place furniture in it, in different designs, how would it look? So that before you go in and buy furniture, you can actually get an idea of how it would look. So we've built a model for that.
So it's a visualization of a prompt that you make. I want to have a room in like red carpet, and then is it like that? Then it will visualize a bedroom with red carpet and.
Yeah, it's based on top of Stable Diffusion, which is a text-to-image model. But then we've trained that specifically on real estate images and adapted it for this use case.
Yeah.
So that's one. Then we've done a lot of work on object detection, object tracking. So, for example, we work with wildlife conservation, and the goal was to track animals. So they stream live safaris, and the goal was just to track individual animals and
also classify them.
And also classify them in species. So then you can get insights or analytics.
I can imagine a lot of applications for this kind of technology.
Yeah.
Also in the food processing industry.
In the food processing, livestock.
Yeah. Very, very interesting.
And one point regarding the niche models is the data privacy. So many companies want to have their own models and want to host them on their own infrastructure because of the data privacy.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Actually, I'm building, maybe it's really a strange statement I'm making right now, but I'm starting to build a quite intimate relationship with ChatGPT. I didn't feel reluctant to share my thoughts, but now sometimes I make prompts in a direction that maybe I can give competitive advantage of a direction we are making, I'm sharing it actually with ChatGPT. The more I'm aware of this, I also feel a little bit surveilled by ChatGPT because I give a lot of information, how I'm thinking, how my thought processing is, not only getting rendered feedback from ChatGPT in the direction that I push it to, but also ChatGPT is getting to understand my thought process and it's also learning there. So there's a scary part for OpenAI. They can really misuse it.
Yeah, and I think it's like sugar, it's not well for you, but you still use it.
Yeah, it's a
And
kind of addiction, I would say. There is no turning back.
yeah, once you start interacting with it and
Yeah.
the responses are so good that, you want to take it a bit more.
And the quality is improving day by
yeah.
day. I really see it improving a lot. So we were talking a bit about Inspire business case. It's like forecasting, what we do, predicting, forecasting on historical data for new quotations. How would you approach such a project if we partner to get this product into the marketplace as a building block on top of Inspire Essentials platform?
Yeah. So could you describe a bit more about the data that you
Well, the
you're
data is
getting?
actually, for example, let me make a very simple example. If you build a building or a house or whatever, and you are a contractor that can perform that, and you did it already in, let's say, 10, maybe 100 different occasions, different buildings, different homes for your clients over the last, let's say, 10 years. We have all this data into the systems to make the quotation, all the tasks that were done, the work packages per task, the validation points, the checkout, the invoicing. So all this historical data we will migrate to, let's say, SQL database. And this will be then the source for the vector database to train models for forecasting for a future project. So I like to have, let's say, apartment flat condos. We have 4 condos there. And I'm prompting it, this location will be in Canada or the US or Pakistan or whatever. And based on this information, it will forecast the lead time, all the parts that are needed, the budget that are needed, lead time of supplies, materials, right, raw materials and all that. And then prompt it really fast, a quotation or the calculations for a quotation.
Yeah, for it, I think the ChatGPT or the NLP large language model wouldn't be the right way to solve it. Because they, like SHARYAR said, they are foundational models that are built to understand language. So they can't make predictions they just seem to do that, but inherently they are not capable to do that. So for this specific problem, I think the way to go would be to build a separate forecasting model that would be built on neural networks, LSTMs, transformers. You can feed in different type of data that you have and you can train it on your historic data because you have the access to that. And once that model is ready, you can integrate that model with LLM or with ChatGPT, and that's where we specialize. So that's where deep learning engineer would come in to integrate both models. So there we would see or we would classify whether the query made by the user needs to go to the forecasting model and to get that numbers, or is it something that needs to reference from the vector database. So that's where we would come in and build that.
That's really very interesting. I really love to hear more from you guys. But time is up. I need to go to my next meeting. I need to run actually to talk to some investors. But it was really great talking to you guys. Mohammed, thank you so much. Malik, thank you so much.
Thanks.